ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
All right, welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors on a Tuesday, June 17th edition of the program. Thrilled to have you with us. We are live, as always, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. We're entering mid-June, so we'll continue with our show prompt episodes of Hoist the Colors, as we'll send out some topics over the next few weeks, as we really have no live ECU athletics going on. We've got recruiting going on. We have some headlines with random topics here or there, but it's kind of generate your own headline season, which leads to a lot of good discussion, open discussion, which I always enjoy getting to. So I sent out a tweet last night, which ECU football newcomers, transfer or freshmen, or coaches, as some commenters went out of their way to do, are you looking most forward to seeing in action this fall? So we'll get to that discussion over the course of the next hour. We will also welcome in Chris Bergen, who is the Coastal Carolina football play-by-play voice, also part of the Sports Talk SC network. So he covers the Chanticleers along with other sports in South Carolina. We'll catch up with him as we continue our football opponent previews as we dive into the Chanticleers to round out non-conference action for ECU football in 2025. On today's show, we are joined, as usual, by Philip Pilkington in the 94.3 The Game studios. I will congratulate you, Philip, on your Boston Red Sox beating my Seattle Mariners late into the night. So, look, you know it's a Seattle Mariners baseball game when they load the bases with nobody out. I think the second or third inning and strike out 3 consecutive times. So the game was over at that point, so I went ahead to sleep. I knew what was inevitable.
Yeah, it's tough. In Bull Durham, they tell you got to hit the ball, throw the ball, catch the ball. You guys threw the ball pretty well and caught the ball pretty well last night. You kind of just forgot the other third to that equation. But, hey, you'll probably still find a way to take 2 out of 3 in this series because, it's the Red Sox and they can only stay hot for so long.
We'll see. I think not ECU. I think the Mariners did lose the first game in Boston and won 2 out of 3 earlier this season, so maybe they can find a way to repeat that. But I'm not too sure about that with some of the pitching lined up for the coming days. All right, we do have questions in this chat. As always, we will take any questions you want. And Lane Smith has a baseball question, to no surprise. He says, any baseball pitcher news? Well, I mean, there's a lot of baseball pitcher news out there, Lane. If we're talking ECU, then specifically, I assume, is what he's asking. I will say that I've heard that there is a hard-throwing reliever visiting today. Gavin Marley, closer for Lenore Ryan, is expected to visit East Carolina today. So I don't know exactly where his recruitment process stands, but he is another Division II pitcher that is a high-leverage reliever that the Pirates are recruiting, and so keep an eye on his name. They also have a Big 12 weekend starter scheduled to visit later this week. Again, 50% off Hoist the Colors, Lane. If you would have been in the VIP chat yesterday, man, you'd already know. So sign up, 50% off Hoist the Colors. But Gavin Marley, a name to watch. Lenore Ryan, transfer pitcher, being recruited by a lot of people. So we'll see if the Pirates can find a way to get his services. All right, so again, we will continue to take questions, comments. Appreciate the question, Lane. Let's talk some football, Philip, as we did send out the prompt again, ECU football newcomers to watch. And so, look, I follow this stuff pretty religiously as a result of getting paid to do so. I'll ask you, generically speaking, before I ask your newcomer to watch, which we'll get to at the end of the segment for offense. How hard is the roster turnover to follow from your perspective? Because you're a part of the show. You hear me talk about it. You probably see a lot of tweets. But it's almost like, man, there's like 50 puzzle pieces moving in and out every year, and it's a pretty daunting task, I would say, especially in a year like this where it's almost like there's no real headliners. It's more like just solid addition after solid addition that seems more like depth and potential starter caliber.
Yeah, I think it's tough because, the exciting thing is you do get some guys from the Power 5 ranks, but a lot of that is because they didn't play, right? Or if you do get a guy who's coming up from the D2 level, there might not be a lot of, film out there on him. So I think that's the tough thing. Like basketball, it's a lot easier to like YouTube a dude's highlights and just kind of figure out his style of play and how he's going to fit into the rotation. Whereas I feel like with football, it's a little bit tougher to know, hey, here's this wide receiver, for example. What style of wide receiver is he? That is a little bit tougher to follow just because of, like I said, he's either coming from a lower level program or he just didn't get a lot of burn at an upper level. So it's kind of tough. And like I said, if there were 6-8 guys, maybe it'd be a little easier. But when there's 20-some guys, it's a lot tougher because it takes a long time to go through everybody.
All right, so here's how we're going to do this. I'll read some of your tweets as we go along. We got several good tweets, and we also have some that are pretty hilarious, so I'll get to those. We'll do offense this segment, then we'll talk to Chris Bergen, the Coastal Carolina play-by-play voice, next segment, and then we'll get defense later. So I'm going to run through each position, and then I'll swing it back to Philip for his offensive pick as well, and I'll read your comments that go along with any of the ones I choose as well. And then Philip, if he wants to chime in, can feel free to do so at any time. All right, so we'll start with quarterback. Look, Caden Hauser is returning. We know that. He's going to start. I mean, you could go in a bunch of different directions here with the freshman coming in, but how can you not go Mike Wright Jr., the transfer quarterback by way of Northwestern this time? And one of the more intriguing additions, probably the biggest name ECU picked up in the portal, just because of the fact he was a highly rated recruit. He spent time in the SEC at Vanderbilt and Mississippi State as a starter. He started last year as a starter at Northwestern. So he has been a starting quarterback at 2 SEC schools and a Big Ten school. And now he's going to be the backup at East Carolina. Well, how does he fit into East Carolina's offense? And how much does ECU utilize him while obviously keeping Caden Hauser the starter is what I'm most interested in. So it's got to be Mike Wright. I do think he can be, if utilized the proper way, a major weapon, not just at quarterback, but offensively. And Jake kind of echoes those sentiments. Jake Pierce on Twitter says, Mike Wright Jr., if utilized correctly, could negate special teams woes by turning red zone trips into 6 instead of living on a prayer of 34-yard field goals. Largely underrated pickup. So we do know this offense struggled last year in the red zone at times, and now you add that running threat. I think that helps. So Mike Wright is my quarterback pick. Running back and as a teaser, receiver were my toughest 2 positions. So running back, I'm going a little bit off the board here. I'm going with DeJuan Lacey. He is a guy who did not even participate in spring practice, but he was here. Parker Jenkins, Houston transfer, also a couple other new names coming in as well, but after watching DeJuan Lacey's film, 5'9", 200, he's a little bit of a bowling ball style back, but he also cuts really well. He's a one cut and go type back. I think he's going to be an excellent fit for this offensive scheme. Last year at Garden City, one of the top JUCOs in the country in Kansas, he rushed for 1,119 yards on 163 carries. That's 7 yards per rush, 14 touchdowns. Recorded 7 100-plus rushing yard games at Garden City. So I'm a big fan of DeJuan Lacey. He was really showing out as a workout warrior before he had a small knee injury that needed a small surgical repair, so he had to miss the spring. He'll be back for preseason camp. So I'm going DeJuan Lacey at running back. Receiver, ECU football newcomer to watch. Another category you had a lot of guys to pick from here. I am going to go Tyler Johnson, transfer from Penn State. Again, a little bit off the board. Jaquez Petaway from Oklahoma. An easy pick, Peyton Mangrum from South Carolina. Worthy of recognition here as well. But the thing I like most about Tyler Johnson after seeing him in the spring, the guy is just a natural pass catcher. And it sounds obvious, like you're a receiver. What are you going to do? You catch the football. Well, I don't know if I saw him drop a single pass all spring. He's got extremely quick feet. He's only 6 foot and he plays outside receiver, so he's not like the biggest guy, but he just knows how to get separation up the line. He knows how to run crisp routes, and he high points the football. He catches it with his hands. Got great body control. I'm shocked he was not able to catch a pass at Penn State. He did play in 10 games last year offensively and on special teams and a very good receiving core. But I really like Tyler Johnson. I'm interested to see how he fits in with Anthony Smith, also Yannick Smith as well. Now, tight end, ECU added 3 freshmen to the mix, and you could have gone with any of those. I'm going with the guy who is enrolling this summer. His name is Stephen Collier. River Bluff High School in South Carolina, multi-sport athlete, probably the most pure athletic of the tight end group. Probably the smallest, but more of a hybrid tight end. And he's kind of similar to Desiree Riles and also similar as well to Javante Connor. So I don't know how much he's going to play this year, but they also see him more as like a true hybrid receiver tight end type. So he's a guy who's a good enough athlete. It would not shock me if he comes in preseason camp and kind of blows people away with the things he's able to do. So I'm keeping an eye on Stephen Collier at tight end while also expecting a leap from Riles and Javante Connor. And then offensive line, another position group where there is a ton of newcomers across the board with Matt Maddox, the offensive line coach, what he was able to bring in this offseason. You got guys at tackle, guard, and center. I'm going to go with one of their more recent additions, Drew McCullough, a true center. Started every game last year at Presbyterian College. I don't know if he will start, but one thing I do know after watching the spring is ECU needs help at center. They need quality depth. They need somebody who can snap the football. It was a struggle during the spring. Carson Jones, former Houston transfer, suffered a likely season-ending knee injury, so this was a major need, and I'm going Drew McCullough at center. So my top 5 offensive newcomers to watch by position to recap: Mike Wright, quarterback transfer from Northwestern. Dewan Lacey, running back transfer from Garden City. Penn State transfer Tyler Johnson at receiver. True freshman tight end Stephen Collier. And offensive lineman, Presbyterian transfer Drew McCullough. Those are my 5. Philip Pilkington, what you got offensively? Who caught your attention on this list?
Yeah, it may be kind of the obvious answer for a lot of Pirate fans, but I'm going to go Jaquez Petaway. I think this is a guy, he does only have 5 receptions to his name in his time at Oklahoma, but in this RPO style of offense where you kind of get the ball to the guys in space, he seems like the guy who can stick his foot in the ground, and he gets to his high-end speed very quickly. And I think he is one of those guys that can turn what is supposed to be, hey, look, it was 2nd and 10, 2nd and 12, we needed it to be 3rd and 4, and you were throwing one of those kind of routes, and all of a sudden you look up, and he's 25 yards down the field. So I think this is a guy who can flip the momentum of a drive, flip the momentum of a game with just one catch, so he's my guy to watch.
Elite top-end speed, Jaquez Petaway, former 4-star recruit, and I think he's an excellent fit for this offense. Will likely fill the Winston Wright role in the slot and play a lot there. All right, we got some comments. Jonathan says, why are we so high on Mike Wright when he's failed to be productive in his college career? Maybe he's the best we can get out of the portal, but besides being a fast runner, he remains underwhelming. He says both on paper and with the eye test. Someone help me with this. Is our QB room behind Caton really that bad? We've seen other programs march out no-name freshmen, inexperienced QBs who have had success beyond expectations. I think it's just the unknown, and Philip, you can weigh in on this as well before we get our break in. Chaston Ditta and Cole Hodge might be pretty good in time, but we have never seen them play in a college game. And look, we both saw them in the spring. There were ups, there were downs. Mike Wright, if he has to go in a game for snaps here or there, he could run the zone read at any point as a surprise, or, just to give a defense something else to prepare for, all that. But, he can go in and operate and win a football game. We know that. He has also been on some of the worst Power 4 teams possible. So, he has not exactly been surrounded with elite talent compared to his peers. So, there's enough there, and he's not your starter to where I love this pickup. We have to remember, he's coming to the American to be a backup after starting at Northwestern, Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State. So, I think this is a best-case scenario for ECU in terms of adding experience.
Jonathan, I think to answer your question, the reason why people are high on him is kind of go what Igo said there when it comes to the package deals. Think about when Denver originally drafted Tim Tebow, and he was not the starter in week 1. They used him in a lot of goal line sets, and it brought versatility to the goal line. Think of a Taysom Hill type, right? He can still throw the football to an extent. He's going to be a threat, so you can't just worry about the zone read because he can come off of that and throw the football. But, yeah, look, East Carolina does not want to be in a situation where something happens to Caton and he is the starter. Would it be the worst option in the country? Absolutely not. Would it be the best option in the country? Far from it. But at the end of the day, this is hopes that Caton Hauser plays to his full potential, and this just allows you to be more versatile in short down and distance situations as well as goal-to-go situations, and also can go in there and take some of those hits where, a guy who's playing, maybe 5-7 snaps a game, you don't mind him taking those hits. Caton Hauser, who's going to play 80 snaps a game, you don't want him taking those blows from, middle linebackers that are twice his size. So that's the other thing. And then, too, obviously you have Raheem Jeter, but it's that one more guy in the room that if Caton Hauser's helmet pops off and he has to come out for a play, you're not burning the red shirt of a Cole Hodge or a Chasten Ditta if Blake Harrell so chooses to redshirt either one or both of those players.
So there's your comments on Mike Wright. Again, brings a lot of experience to the table, and, you get somebody who can do some different things. All right, we're going to break in. When we come back, we'll switch gears. Coastal Carolina opponent preview. Pirates and the Chanticleers will match up in mid-September in Conway. We'll break that down with Chris Bergen, play-by-play voice for Coastal Carolina football, on the other side.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed, meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Are you ready to tackle those yard and garden projects? Come by East Carolina Tractor and Fleet, your local Coyote dealer, and check out their great selection of residential and commercial Coyote tractors. From zero-turn mowers to compact tractors to skid steer loaders, they've got you covered. Some with 0% financing for qualified buyers. Stop by your hometown Coyote dealer, East Carolina Tractor and Fleet, across from the Pitt County Fairgrounds, or online at ectfleet.com. East Carolina Tractor and Fleet. We dig dirt.
Tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
At Parker's Barbecue, our family has been serving your family for 3 generations.
For that, we say thank you.
Blessing families every Thursday. Kids eat free all day. That's the Parker's way.
Legendary food served from our 3 locations. Always quick, always delicious. That's the Parker's way.
At Parker's, our mission is to impact our customers through Christ-like service in a way that feeds them both physically and spiritually. That is the Parker's way.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
Oh, hey, welcome back. You got here just in time. This is Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors, Tuesday, June 17th edition of the program. We're rolling along with our ECU football opponent previews. Coastal Carolina is next, and we're joined by Chris Bergen, play-by-play voice for Coastal Carolina football. But, Chris, I feel like we got to start with Coastal baseball, as ECU got a firsthand look at them in the Conway Regional. First off, welcome to the program, but just can you explain what this ride has been like, kind of covering it? I know you also work for Sports Talk SC, and just, I mean, they are a dominant force right now.
Stephen, great to be on the show. Appreciate the time. Yeah, I figured you might want to start with CCU baseball. They've been nothing short of remarkable. And I guess the amazing part is I'm not sure anybody, including head coach Kevin Snow and his staff, knew exactly how good they could be, because if you go back to the preseason Sun Belt Conference coaches and media poll, they were preseason number 4. And you guys know full well, being in the AAC, you finished 4th or 5th in a mid-major conference, you're not going to the NCAA tournament. Well, they decided they'd take matters into their own hands, and with that pitching staff, which in my opinion is the best in the country. I mean, I don't think you can argue. Outside of what Gage Wood did yesterday for Arkansas, I'm not sure there was a better performance thus far out in Omaha than what Jacob Morrison turned in against Oregon State a couple of nights ago. But I mean, they've been phenomenal. You don't win 25 games in a row without being really talented. And if you watch them play, and you guys got to see them in the Conway Regional that opened up NCAA tournament play, it's just their style of baseball. They're not afraid to do the little things. Give you a great example. When we were out in Auburn for the Super Regionals, this would not have worked in Coastal's mindset, but this is how Auburn plays. They had runners at first and second at the bottom of the ninth in game 1 of the Super Regional in a 6-6 ball game. That speaks and screams at you sacrifice bunt, right? Well, they had their cleanup guy up to bat, and he had not had a sacrifice all season long. So he tries to swing for the fences and drive in a 3-run home run to win it that way. He strikes out. The next batter comes up, lines into a double play. Had that been Coastal's 4-man, Walker Mitchell, he would have been more than happy to lay down a sacrifice bunt, and then you just get a sac flying. It's just a difference in style of play for them, and it's worked for them, obviously, for a long, long time, especially this season.
Yeah, I was going to ask, it almost like feels like like in some ways a team of destiny, but also like just the belief that you're never going to lose. They've won in so many different ways. I kind of made the prediction that they're going to win 28 in a row going into Omaha and just not even lose. But from my question is, if they do get tripped up, especially in the championship series, do you think like they just shrug it off and bounce back, or is it just like, I don't know, I guess that's a wait and see because they haven't lost in nearly 2 months at this point.
Yeah, first off, I agree with you. I think they're going to run the table and finish this thing off. But if they do lose, I'm not sure anybody knows how they'll respond. The last team to beat them was the College of Charleston on April 22nd. They haven't lost in almost 2 months. So, I mean, it's a ridiculous winning streak that they're currently on. And they do. They just got a belief when they step up to the plate that they're going to come through with whatever the base hit is, or their pitcher is going to make the pitch they need. They're going to do whatever they need to do, and they're going to win the game. And so far that has worked for them. But, yeah, it's a great question, and I'm not sure anybody knows until, Oregon State or Louisville, if they were to trip them up, how they might respond. It's interesting. I saw the stat the other night after they won that 31 of the 42 teams that have started the College World Series 2-0 ultimately make it to the College World Series Championship Series. So obviously that bodes well for them. But they are also in that 11-team category as well, having not started back in 2016. They actually lost a game to TCU and had to beat TCU twice, and that was one thing Kevin Snow referenced on Sunday after their win over Oregon State. He understands that the job is not over, and I can't imagine they're going to. They haven't taken anybody lightly thus far, and I'm sure they're not going to start now.
We're joined by Chris Bergen, who works for Sports Talk SC, also covers and calls Coastal Carolina football. And Chris, let's transition now to football. It'll be the September 13th matchup. East Carolina heading back to the Myrtle Beach area in Conway to take on the Chanticleers. First time at Coastal. They met in the Birmingham Bowl in 2022. We'll just start with just the general feelings surrounding the series. I'm kind of excited about it. ECU and Coastal, it's a drivable game for both fan bases. Just what's kind of the sentiment down there about this football series really getting started in the regular season?
Well, first off, if you can assure me that Holton Ahlers has graduated and will not play in the game, I'll be a lot more excited because he was phenomenal the last time we saw you guys in the Birmingham Bowl. I mean, just a terrific game for him. I was awfully impressed with him. But to speak to the rivalry, I think it's great. I think the two schools, they've started obviously playing baseball again. They met, during the regular season and then in the NCAA tournament. played men's basketball this year, which was a lot of fun, and I think the football rivalry just fits. And I hope it's something that both schools can agree we can do a home and home for a long time, because to me, it's a lot like the Appalachian State series with Coastal. Now, obviously, App's also a conference foe, so the rivalry there has built pretty well over the years, with both of us being in the Sun Belt. But I think there can be a tremendous rivalry between Coastal and East Carolina. I'm certainly looking forward to the game. I know for the Pirates it'll be a big game. It may be one of, if not the biggest games on Coastal's schedule, considering they open up at Virginia. So you don't know how that's going to go, and then you host Charleston Southern, a game that you probably are forecasted to win. So that to me is probably the key game for Tim Beck and the Chanticleers to see how their season can go, with Sun Belt Conference play set to begin the following week against South Alabama on the road.
It'll be year 3 for Tim Beck, the former offensive coordinator at NC State. And look, he's had 2 really solid years, especially that first year, 8 wins, 5-3 in the Sun Belt, including a win in the Hawaii Bowl last year. They slipped back a little bit, but still were bowl eligible before falling in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. So, look, 2 bowl eligible seasons for Coach Beck in his first 2 years. So, what's kind of the overall vibe around the program right now with him heading into year 3?
I think, Stephen, quite frankly, he was concerned with the way last season played out. You know, mid-season, he fires Travis Trickett as offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. He tried to take over all of that, going from head coach and also be OC. He cut his teeth as a quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator, so he felt like that's something he'd be able to transition in relatively easily. But I think he realized after about 3 ball games that trying to be head coach, paying attention to offense, defense, and special teams, and also trying to remember, hey, I've got to call the plays and everything, it overwhelmed him somewhat. So I don't think he was happy with the way the offense moved last season, and they kind of finished middle of the country in terms of total offense last year. And that, to me, that is going to be a key factor for them. How will Drew Hollingshead, the new OC who comes in from Western Kentucky, where he was the co-OC and also quarterbacks coach there, he comes in with the mindset, we're going to run a bunch of plays. We talked to him last week, got a chance to meet both coordinators and a good bit of the defensive staff at a media availability. And the one thing that Drew said is, the way I look at it, the more plays that we can put out on the field, the more difficult it's going to be for the defense. So that's all well and good if they've got the right signal caller. And that's probably the biggest question coming out of spring and going into the fall, is who's going to be the guy. They have one returning quarterback with any experience whatsoever, and that's Tad Hudson, the redshirt transfer from North Carolina. Didn't play at all last year until the bowl game, and he was thrust in there because everybody else, unfortunately, had vacated the program. So really there's questions on the offensive side, starting at the signal caller position, and then on the defensive side, it's an entirely new staff virtually over there from D.C. all the way through a good many of the assistants. They were not very good last year stopping the run. So questions probably outweigh the answers 2-1 going into the fall for sure.
Chris Bergen with us, Coastal Carolina, calls Chanticleer football down in Conway. And Tim Beck did add M.J. Morris to the fold, who obviously he recruited the NC State at quarterback. And is the presumption he'll have a shot to start there? Is it kind of a competition between him and Tad Hudson? How is that kind of looking right now?
We asked Drew Hollingshead that very same question, obviously, because that's the biggest question mark around any program. If you don't have a stable returning quarterback, who's going to be the guy? And he basically said everybody at this point in time was about even. Now, whether or not that's coach speak that you don't want to show your hand this early, I get that part, and I can live with that. But I would think in terms of MJ and Tad and all the guys they've got on the staff right now in terms of that quarterback room, Stephen, I would think they've all got a pretty legitimate shot, because it's not, Tad Hudson's the returnee, if you will, but he's going to be learning a new system just like everybody else. So I don't think he's got a huge leg up, and it's kind of hard to figure out, look back at what he did against UTSA in the bowl game and think, okay, he's by far the incumbent guy. I mean, he threw for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. He wasn't bad. You could tell he wasn't comfortable with all the guys around him, and then you lose a guy like Braden Bennett into the transfer portal after that game. He's at Virginia Tech now, so you've lost your key weapon at running back. So I think every position on the offense and probably a good many on the defense are up for grabs going into the fall, but certainly at that QB position, all the guys they've got, I think, have a legitimate shot to be the starter game 1.
Yeah, I was going to ask, Coach Beck, I know he's gone on record just talking about the frustration with the portal because it feels like the last 2 years since he's been there, they've had really good talent. Obviously, that he's developed or that Coastal has developed have hit the portal, and ECU's had the same issue, as have a lot of schools. Certainly neither the Pirates nor the Chanticleers are immune to that. But how frustrating has that been for Coach Beck? And does he feel like he's been able to retain, enough of the core to where it's not a complete overhaul, or is it just kind of going to be that every year now?
I think at first it was extremely frustrating for him because after the Hawaii Bowl season going into last year, they brought in 60, I think the number was 63 new guys. I'm not sure what the total number is going to be this season, but it will be somewhere between that 40 and 60 range again. Yes, extreme frustration with the fact he loses top-flight talent. I mean, Braden Bennett's a perfect example. I mean, he was a key weapon for us at the running back position, and it's hard to fault the players because they get developed and they want to have an opportunity to showcase their wares at bigger schools. I get that. But the problem is, as you see at ECU, and I get to see at CCU, it hurts our programs, and it's frustrating for the fans. But, yeah, in terms of Coach Beck, he told me one time last year he spends almost as much time trying to either retain his players, keep an eye on the transfer portal, start recruiting new players as he does, trying to just coach his football team. And so, yeah, he's probably as fed up as you could probably grab every group of 5 coach, put them in a room, and every level of frustration would be about the same because they're all dealing with that. And as we even see it at the Power 5 level, I mean, they're dealing with it, maybe not to the degree. You don't have a situation where Kate Klubnik at Clemson, I don't think Dabo Swinney has to worry about him transferring. But for the most part, I mean, at our level, I think that's basically where it is now. And coaches have gone from being extremely frustrated to, all right, this is what we have to put up with. How do we handle it? And I think that's where Coastal is now, just trying to adapt and move on because it's one of the defensive assistants told me last week that he believes in you either adapt or you die. And I think they've taken that mindset that we're going to adapt and not let our program wither away.
Chris Bergen with us, play-by-play voice for Coastal Carolina football. A few more things for you, Chris. We'll get you out of here. And looking at the schedule, you mentioned it, opening at Virginia. They do get Charleston Southern, which should be a winnable game. ECU should be a huge swing game as well. And then they got to go to South Carolina towards the back half of the year. So this is another difficult schedule. What would you say defines success if you can kind of put a finger on that for this 2025 Coastal Carolina football team?
Wow, that's a great question. If you have to put a number, I think probably somewhere, considering, let's assume for a moment you lose Virginia and lose South Carolina. Okay, you're 0-2 there. That's why I mentioned that the ECU is such a swing game non-conference-wise, because that's one, I think, from Coastal's perspective, they've got to find a way to put in the win column, because then you jump in, going to South Alabama will not be easy. Haven't played over there in a while, and the Sun Belt continues to get better. All the schools have put the resources in and are continuing to get better on the football side. Then you've got Old Dominion, which has been a pretty good little rivalry between the two over the years. We've got to go back up there. So you've got back-to-back conference games. Stephen, I think just to throw a number out there, 7 wins and a bowl victory, I think Coastal would see that as a very good step in the right direction. Coming off a disappointing year, even though they qualified for a bowl, they didn't perform well at the Myrtle Beach Bowl. So I think a winning season, contending in the East Division of the Sun Belts, possibly, having a chance to go to the championship game would be outstanding. But anything less than, I think, 7 wins, I'm pretty sure the folks would be disappointed with that kind of season. But I mean, it's a daunting schedule, and even after the South Carolina game, and that's going to be the curious thing to see how Tim Beck plays this where that game contest is. It's the week before the James Madison game at home. Depending on where Coastal sets up in the East Division of the Sun Belt, that game could actually determine the league representative on the East side. So do you want to run out all your top-flight guys to face a Gamecock team that has a lot of expectations going into this year, especially with their quarterback in Lenore Sellers? Or do you kind of hold things back and make sure everybody's good to go the following week against James Madison? I'm not a big fan of having a big-time non-conference game like that right before your finale in conference play. It'd be a lot better to have it the next week, but the Gamecocks have big fish to fry that following week when they play their rival game against Clemson.
No doubt. It's a tough draw on November 22nd. All right, final thing. Coastal kind of went viral when they made the announcement they were going to offer the free concessions at football. Which, look, I know ECU fans are going to be down in Conway in full force, at least as much as possible for that game. So what type of feedback have you got from that? Like, how is this even going to be operated? You may not be involved with this firsthand too much, but I had to make some headlines locally as well.
Quite frankly, I'm going to be disappointed, Stephen. I can't go down and watch it work for the Charleston Southern game. But basically, I think to give you sort of the genesis of what Chance Miller was looking at, if you follow, I'm sure know about the Savannah Bananas and the success they've had in terms of the way they play baseball. They do a similar type thing for their home games in Savannah, and basically they just have, as best I can tell, it's almost like a buffet table, and you scan your tickets. It's going to be basically on your phone. You'll just scan your ticket, you walk through, pick up whatever items you want, and come out the other side. That's basically how it's supposed to work. Now, whether or not it'll work that way and that easily in actual practice remains to be seen. But in terms of the success the promotion has had, the first couple of weeks, I mean, that was all anybody was talking about. That got national headlines. I mean, people like Pat McAfee off his show were talking about coming down to Coastal just to see a game. So I don't think Chance and the athletic department could have paid for the kind of publicity they got for it. Now, the question is, how many tickets did it actually sell? I don't know. But I think it's a really cool idea. And as best I can tell, as long as East Carolina fans buy a ticket to the game, they are also privy to this. It's free concessions for anyone who bought a ticket. I don't think you just have to buy a ticket and be a Coastal fan. But I could be wrong, but I think that's how it's supposed to be set up. So I think it's an awesome idea. It's a great way to get fans involved. But you and I both know the best way to get fans involved is go out and win football games. And so if we're sitting at 9-0, that promotion is going to be awesome. You're sitting at 2-7, it may not be as fun as we had hoped at the beginning of the year.
No doubt. He's Chris Bergen, Coastal Carolina play-by-play announcer. Chris, we appreciate the time, man. Enjoy the rest of the College World Series as well. I know you guys are following that closely, but it's been a lot of fun to follow the Chanticleers baseball team. And we'll reconnect come September 13th, the date for ECU and Coastal on the football field. Appreciate it, man.
Stephen, my pleasure. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I enjoyed it, and we will talk with you guys soon. And to all the Pirates fans coming down, look forward to having you in Conway second weekend in September.
Appreciate it, Chris. Chris Bergen, Coastal Carolina play-by-play announcer. All right, we'll get a break in. We will come back. We will circle back with our ECU football newcomers to watch conversation. We've got to hit the defensive side of the ball. After this is Hoist the Colors.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
Want fresh, homegrown produce? Then look for Peden's Junior Produce. Peden's Junior Produce, a mobile produce stand, is on Memorial Drive beside Parker's Barbecue in Greenville and open Thursday and Friday 10 to 7, Saturday 8 to 7, and Sunday 11 to 6. Choose from seasonal produce like collards, squash, onions, potatoes, corn, and the list goes on. Support your local farmers and enjoy locally grown produce. To find out what's in season, check out Peden's Junior Produce on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Harvesting happiness one crop at a time.
Get the podcast of the show on the IBX Media app or where you get your podcasts.
Got it. You don't have to tell me twice. I remember it exactly.
Stephen Igo and Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
All right, we're back. Segment 3 here. Hoist the Colors, Tuesday, June 17th. Appreciate Chris Bergen for doing our Coastal Carolina preview as we run through our ECU football opponent previews. All right, we got Philip Pilkington back in the 94.3 The Game studios. Philip, I was thinking as I asked that question about the free concessions, that they can offer this to fans, 20,000 fans for football, but yet they can't feed the media at a NCAA baseball regional. So, like, something's not right here.
I think here's the thing, and I'm with you, I 100% agree, but I have noticed when I eat, I want something to wash it down with. They are not offering free beer, so they're probably going to charge out the rear end for beer. You, being a working media member, would have eaten and then chased it down with water or a ice-cold soda. So I think that's part of it. But yeah, I think the fact they didn't feed you guys was a little weird. I mean, I do have a question, though. Would you rather not be fed at all, or would you rather be given one free milkshake voucher, and then you had to stand in line for your milkshake, and the concession lines were extremely long?
He is speaking to the Coral Gables Regional, which was, I think, the first ever regional I covered as a media member back in Cliff Godwin's first year. I think I would still take the milkshake because they were good. Now, they were hyped up as like the greatest milkshake of all time at the Miami baseball stadium. And they were
still
just
do
like,
that crap. They still they'll interview guys like, have you had a chance to go over to the baseball stadium and get a milkshake? Like they interviewed like John Shire about it this year.
It's just a regular milkshake to me, man. I don't know. I didn't think it was that great, and it certainly wasn't worth standing in line. But at least they offer something. I will say that. But that was a fun trip to Miami.
Nobody does it like Greenville, baby. We get paid. We get treated.
True.
I will say that's part of it. I think ECU pampers us like bats, especially during regionals. But still, like
absolutely,
it is frustrating when you go to like another power. I mean, like Coastal, I know it's not, but sometimes when I go to places and it's like I will say I've had the media meal at Davidson one time. And you, like, walk in this room for a basketball game, and they had, like, chicken parm and fettuccine Alfredo and all this. And I was like, oh, this is what I'm getting myself into. And then I come to ECU, and it's the same way, but not quite maybe that nice. And then when you go anywhere else, it's like, well, if Davidson can do it and ECU can do it, what the heck?
It's just about who's running the operation and who's putting the thought into it, I think, because they could definitely do it. It's just, for whatever reason, they didn't want to. For us media
Charlotte,
folks,
we didn't get water.
Yeah. Yeah, Charlotte was pretty bad. So, who knows, man? Who knows? All right, let's get back into. We'll have plenty of time to complain about concession or lack thereof for us local media folk. Let's get back to our ECU football newcomers to watch. We hit offense earlier. We'll hit the defense now, and again, I'll run through position by position and read your comments that coincide with that. We did get a lot of comments about the receiver position, which we kind of ran over offensively with the additions of Peyton Mangrum from South Carolina, also Jaquez Petaway, as Philip mentioned, from Oklahoma, and also my pick, Tyler Johnson from Penn State. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball now. I'll start with the defensive line, my favorite ECU football newcomer to watch for the coming season. Another position you could pick a lot of guys. I'm going to go with Ryan Roseborough, former John Paul the second Catholic high school standout. He played 8-man football As a result, he was under-recruited, went to Towson, redshirted, then played a year as a redshirt freshman. Last season was in the rotation quite a bit. And I think transfers back home to Greenville. Big kid, 6'2", 300-plus pounds, going to play some defensive tackle along with fellow transfer Justin Benton. Also, Xavier McIver, another Boomerang transfer coming back after a year at UT Martin. So defensive line, a heavy transfer class. I'm keeping an eye on Ryan Roseborough. He played running back in high school, some tight end, so he can really move for his size, and he's really developed his body. We also have a comment from JP2 itself on Twitter that says, we're biased, and they pick Ryan Roseborough as well. So JP2 weighing in the comments. At linebacker, this is a little bit of a different one. No transfer inside linebackers. Now, they did add some transfer outside linebackers. I will start with the edge rushers. I like Kendrick DeJour, transfer from Sam Houston State. He's going to be a guy who splits time with Raheem Craig. They're similar type players. Craig probably a little bit more all around, whereas DeJour, 6'5", 230, more of your true edge rusher. At inside linebacker, you really only have true freshmen to pick from. I'm going with Kendrick Davis, athletic, 6'2", linebacker. I think more of a projectable player, but a guy who's probably good enough to help on special teams right now if they need him. Kendrick Davis, my pick for linebacker, as I really like his athleticism out of the Charlotte area, Palisades High School. Cornerback, another position where you could easily pick a transfer. They added like 4 corner transfers, including guys who I know are going to play, but I'm going a little bit off the board here, kind of a wild card pick. I'm going with the freshman, Darion Horsley. He is the highest rated freshman in this class. He participated. He has the best length of any corner. He is 6'2". He's 185 pounds. He was a one-time Mississippi State commit. ECU really liked him. He ended up flipping to ECU late in the process. He's a guy that, corner is a position you can play if you're good enough right away. You obviously would like a guy who's more developed, but he's got a Division I ready body, 6'2", close to 190 pounds, and he makes plays. So wouldn't be shocked at all if by the end of the year he's making some plays. But you got some obvious ones there. We have some comments. Jordy Lowry, the All-American FCS corner from Western Carolina, with a couple comments on social media that Dan points out. So I would expect him, Jonathan Akins, Rashid Reason, ODU transfer to play as well there. At safety, Jonathan Jean, recent transfer addition from Rice. He also plays nickel. Had a game-winning pass breakup against Houston to win the Bayou Bucket, I believe is their rivalry trophy. Houston-Rice rivalry trophy down in that city. So Jonathan Jean, a guy who has played some nickel, experienced guy, older, smart player. I think he's going to play some nickel and safety this year for the Pirates. And then let's do some special teams too. I'm going to go with Nick Mazie, transfer from New Hampshire, place kicker. I really like what Mazie brings to the table because he's an experienced, proven kicker. Has made a few over 50 yards as well and mostly accurate. So, Philip, I'll let you get your pick in as well. I read some comments which pertain to the defensive coordinator and the snapping and holding as well. So, always people never shy of opinions. What you got?
All right, I'll go quick because we're running short on time. But my personal pick here, for my own personal, because I love to interview this guy and I love to hang out with this guy when he comes in our studio, there's got to be Tegan Wilk, of course. And I love to watch him teleport all over the field when they're running the football. But I will take my personal bias out of this and just the guy I'm excited to see is Rashid Reason. Look, he is the only guy in this corner room with all the transfers that started every game in an FBS program last year. He is used to this competition. He is ready to go. Obviously, there's guys transferring from bigger programs. There's guys who didn't play as much, guys who transferred from, the FCS ranks. But it is amazing to see a guy come in there who's done at the Group of 5 level, who's played against East Carolina Pirates. So I'm going Rashid Reason is my true one. But again, my personal one will always be Tegan Wilk.
Tegan Wilk, solid pick for sure. All right, I'll read some comments before we get a break in. We have Cameron who says, looking forward to seeing whoever the new person is that will hold the snap on field goals now. Hashtag laces out. Yes, Luke Larson is gone. I would assume maybe the new punter who transferred in, Ryan Levy from Duke, would be your holder. By the way, they do have a new snapper, Tristan O'Brien from Indiana State. We also have a comment about Tegan Wilk. John F. Breezy says, boomerang Tegan Wilk. Ben Barnhill says portal punter. And somebody else says a kicker who kicks it through the uprights. So, all right. Well, there's your special teams talk on June 17th. This is why we do what we do, Philip. Never a dull moment.
Hey, it's okay. It's giving me a good smile. I like the outside the box thinking. Whoever said the defensive coordinator.
Josh Aldridge, yeah.
Yeah, whoever said Josh Aldridge, whoever's talking about all the special teams. Look, it's easy to go out there and give the easy answers. I gave the easy answers, so I like you guys who think outside the box. Kudos to you guys. Y'all are what makes the show fun.
Blue Pirate Blue on Twitter said the defensive coordinator's play calling. So he is looking forward to what Josh Aldridge dials up, and I am as well. That's a good pick, too. We'll find out on August 28th. Is he going to bring the house blitz on the first third down at NC State, or is he going to play coverage? We'll find out come late August. All right, we got to get a break in. We're running short on time. Final segment on the way.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Your roof is a vital part of protecting your home and family from dangerous storms and hurricanes. At Assist Roofing, we install and maintain metal roofing that provides precise protection. Add value to your home while lowering utility costs with a fortified roof to last a lifetime. With 0% financing, grants, and Energy Star Green Roofing tax credit available. Call us to schedule a free consultation so you can weather any storm with confidence.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's cut in color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
If you are interested in living longer and living stronger, Eastern Physical and Lifestyle Medicine is accepting new patients for a limited time. Finding a caring physician can be a challenge. Dr. Billy Smith is board certified in physical medicine and lifestyle medicine and has been practicing in the area for many years. Call for an appointment now to Eastern Physical and Lifestyle Medicine, 252-364-1108 in Greenville. That number again is 252-364-1108.
Looking for a great deal on a new Nissan?
At Greenville Nissan, we've got a great selection of new Nissans for under $30,000.
The stylish Nissan Sentra, offering top-notch fuel economy. The Nissan Altima, known for its comfort and technology.
The Nissan Kicks, the perfect combination with its compact design and performance. The Nissan Versa, delivering incredible value without compromising on features. And don't forget the Nissan Rogue, an award winner for 10 years in a row. Drive it home just for $22 down and $349 a month.
Visit GreenvilleNissan.com today.
Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built.
We're live with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Hoist the Johnny Roger!
Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors, final segment here. We got just a minute or two left, so we'll hit this quickly. Philip Pilkington back in the 94.3 The Game studios. So the American is set to add, the American Athletic Conference set to add a notable consultant and former Big East Commissioner Mike Trangiz. Do we know the pronunciation here, Philip? Trangiz?
Don't ask me how to pronounce names, Igo. Ask me to do math as to how many games, how many days to a football game.
I guess I'm the broadcaster. I should know, but we did discuss this right before the show. Either way, former Big East Commissioner from 1990 through 2009, Tranghese is the spelling, I should say. He's coming on as a consultant to improve the basketball product of the American. Now, I am a fan of this because the Big East during that time was one of the best basketball leagues in the country, and he also served in a similar role with the SEC. The only thing I don't like about it is he was a pretty big opponent, whatever the word is, of keeping ECU out of the Big East in prior years, when Virginia Tech and all those schools made the move. But I like it from the standpoint of improving the basketball, Philip.
I love it. You got to remember, in the mid-2000s, obviously the ACC tournament always reigned king, but the next one was the Big East tournament. That was special. He's the one that got it to Madison Square Garden, all that stuff. You look at when he moved to the SEC, 2016. Who was good in the SEC in 2016? Kentucky. Who's good in the SEC now? Everybody but LSU and South Carolina. So he has brought 2 basketball conferences to the pinnacle. He's done a great job. He's got a great track record. I'm excited.
And I'm pretty impressed just overall with Tim Pernetti. I mean, I feel like he is doing some pretty good things. At least it looks good on paper. Time will tell, Philip, how it plays out. But I would give him a pretty solid A for his first year on the job.
He's very forward-thinking. He understands that there is going to be a break-off, and he is ready to be proactive instead of reactive. We talk about how, a month ago now, he brought in someone who's a consultant that is solely for branding. He's talked about selling the brand of selling the naming rights to the conference. I think he is very proactive in a time that we need a proactive guy. I think Mike Oresco was great in getting the conference off the ground, but now you need a younger guy who's, can kind of see the big picture and where things are going. I think it was a great hire. I'm really excited what he's done in his first 365 plus days.
We'll see how the league looks in football year 2 under Pernetti's watch. We'll also hear from him more at the American Athletic Conference Media Days in Charlotte come late July. All right, we're out of time on this Tuesday. We'll be back Wednesday. We will preview Tulsa football as the Pirates will take on Tulsa later this year, and we'll try to get Corey Glore to preview Tulane as well. We'll have him on one of the next 2 days as we continue our opponent previews and more. Hoist the Colors, 12 noon. We'll see you Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in.